Dear students, let us start new chapter 5, Introduction to Euclid's Geometry. The word geometry comes from the combination of two Greek words. Geo means earth and metrin means a measure. So measuring earth, that means geometry. To understand this, let us see some points. Here I have collected some points for you. With the help of these points, you will understand Euclid's geometry. For that, let us see some history about it. Geometry appears to have originated from the need for measuring land. As for example, wherever the river Nile overflowed, it wiped out the boundaries between the joining fields of various landowners. After such flooding, these boundaries had to be drawn once more time. Every time they need to draw the boundary again and again. For this purpose, the Egyptians developed a number of geometric techniques and rules for calculating simple areas and also for doing simple constructions. The knowledge of geometry was also used by them for computing volumes also. This way, they developed geometry for measuring earth. That means whenever they need to rearrange that owner's field, they were using this geometry, and this way they developed geometry, and now it is a very big part of mathematics. For that, again, let us see some points. Here you can see that a Greek mathematician, Thales, is considered to be the founder of geometry. He used the word geometry for the first time. One of the Thales' most famous popular student was Pythagoras. Pythagoras and his group discovered many geometric properties and developed the theory of geometry to a great extent. Sulba Sutra. Sulba Sutra were created between 800 BC to 500 BC. Bodhayan Sulba Sutra is the oldest one. Implicitly, their construction implies knowledge of proof of Pythagoras principle. Altars there for public worship contained combinations of rectangle, triangle, and trapeziums. Thus, Indians knew Pythagoras' theorem before his birth. Aryabhat, Brahmagupta, and Bhaskaracharya contributed the development of geometry. Do you know about Harappa and Mohenjo-daro? Yes, you know. It was a highly organized societies. The societies were highly developed and very well planned, such as the roads were parallel to each other. There was a underground drainage system, and also they used the bricks whose size were very proper in the ratio 4 is to 2 is to 1, means their length is to breadth is to thickness was 4 is to 2 is to 1. So here we can also see the use of geometry. in India. Now let us see about dimension. For solid, we can see dimension. Here one table is given. In this table, you can see that geometric quantity, that is solid. So in solid, three dimension is there: height, length, and breadth. Surface means one plane, and surface has two dimension: length and breadth. Lines, lines has one dimension, only length. We can measure the length of line only. We are not able to find its breadth or its depth. And for point, point means a dot on a plane, that is point. We are not able to define it also. So we can say that point has no dimension. So remember this table properly. As I explained you, solid has three dimension, surface two dimension, line one dimension, and point has no dimension. Now we know that Euclid was a teacher of mathematics at Alexandria, using postulates and assumes. Postulates means that they are proving, if they are proving, then prove that, then they are called postulates. Some assumes logic. With the help of logic, he decides some assumes. Euclid moved to prove results. He proved some more results using deductive logic. He wrote 13 chapters about geometry in a book called Elements. The name of book was Elements. And in this book, he gave 23 definitions in one chapter. Means a few of them are here. Let us see some. First is, a point is that which has no part. Means point, as we discussed that point has no dimension. If it has no dimension, then we can say that no part of any point. Second is, a line is breadthless length. Breadthless. As we discussed first, we are not able to find the breadth of any line. Third point is, the ends of a line are points. Means the ends of any line are point, as we know. Let us see some more. Fourth is, a straight line is a line which lies evenly with the points on itself. A straight line is a line which lies evenly with the points of itself. So with using many points, we can draw a line. Straight line means, straight line is collection of points which are having very nearer to each other, lying very nearer to each other. A surface is that which has length and breadth only. Surface, as we discussed, surface means plane, and in plane it has only two dimension: length and breadth. The edges of a surface are lines. A plane surface is a surface which lies evenly with the straight lines on itself. As we see that straight line, collection of points, that way we can say that plane is a collection of straight lines. Now let us see some of Euclid's axioms. Here we have collected 7 axioms of Euclid's. First is things which are equal to the same thing are equal to one another. As for example, if you divide chocolate equally, then both the parts are equal. Then you can say that first part is 1/2 part of chocolate and second part is also 1/2 part of chocolate. If equals are added to equal, the wholes are equal. Equals are added to equals, the wholes are equal. If equals are subtracted from equals, the remainders are equal. Things which coincide with one another are equal to one another. The whole is greater than a part. The whole is greater than a part. If we cut the apple, then the part of apple is smaller than the apple. Things which are double of the same thing are equal to one another. Things which are halves of the same things are equal to one another. So this way Euclid gave some these axioms. With the help of these axioms, we can understand the geometry properly. Now, here we can see there are some postulates of Euclid's. Here main 5 postulates are there. First postulate is a straight line may be drawn from any one point to any other point. Assume it is called as axiom 5.1 also. Given two distant points, there is a unique line that passes through them. So we can say that if 2 points are there on a plane, then obviously only one line we can draw which is passing from this both the points. Postulate number 2, a terminated line can be produced indefinitely. Means line, we know that we are drawing arrows to the line both the side. That means we can draw a line up to infinite. We are not able to find the end of a line. Postulate number 3, a circle can be drawn with any center and any radius. In any plane, with the help of any point as a center, with the help of any radius, 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter, 5 centimeter, whatever you want, we can draw a circle. Postulate number 4 is all right angles are equal to one another. Means all the right angles are of 90 degree only, because the definition of right angle is that if the angle measures 90 degree, then it is right angle. And so we can say that all right angles are equal to one another. Now postulate number 5. If a straight line falling on two straight lines make the interior angles on the same side of it taken together is less than two right angles, then the two straight lines, if produced indefinitely, meet on that side on which the sum of angles is less than two right angles. Let us understand with a figure. Here, if one line is like that, this line is there, and one another line is there this way, and third line is falling on these two straight line. So again read the postulate number 5. If a straight line falling on two straight lines makes the interior angle on the same side, suppose these two are the interior angle of same side to this line. These two straight line, interior of straight line are not of 90 degree. That means they are not 90 degree at 90 degree. Then the two straight lines, if produced indefinitely, means if we produce this straight line this way, if we produce this, then they will intersect each other and meet on that side on which the sum of angle is less than 2 right angle. So here we can say that this into interior sum of this two interior angle is less than 2 right angle. 2 right angle means 90 plus 90, that is 180. That means the sum of these two interior angle is less than 180. Then we can say that these lines, two straight lines, intersect each other. Now one more point, that two distinct intersecting lines cannot be parallel to the same line. From this knowledge, we can write theorem 5.1 that two distinct lines cannot have more than one point in common. As we see first example, that postulate 5.5, postulate 5, in postulate 5 we understand that the two straight line were intersecting each other, but they will not intersect in another point on the plane. So we can say this theorem 5.1 that two distinct lines cannot be more than one point in common. So they will that means they will intersect each other in one and only one point.